Joining us this morning, a vocal member of that Tea Party, Congressman Allen West of Florida is with us. Nice to see you, sir. Thanks for being with us. Always appreciate it. You know, your name had been brought up. Herman Cain, I think we're having breakfast with him, and he said you'd be a great VP candidate. Sarah Palin had mentioned you as well, but the public doesn't pick you. Does that upset you? You want to be on that list?
No, you know, it's not about me. It's about my country, and that's always has been that. And so I'm happy to be here serving as a congressional representative and doing what I can to make sure I get our country back on track. So it's not about myself. It's not about an ego. It's about the team.
Let me ask you a question about some of these remarks that Ted Nugent said over the weekend at the NRA. I'll play a little chunk and we'll talk on the other side. Listen.
If Barack Obama becomes the president in November again, I will either be dead or in jail by this time next year.
So now he's going to be interviewed by the Secret Service. Do you think he was threatening violence in any way, shape, or form? What do you think he was saying?
I think he was just expressing maybe his opinion about something. And, of course, everyone wants to sensationalize things. But let's leave it up to the Secret Service to interview him and get to the bottom of it. But I don't think the Motor City Madman has any ill will toward the President of the United States of America.
I think he's got a lot of ill will toward him, but I think that's a separate question of whether or not he's threatening violence. I think that's kind of night and day. No, I don't think he likes him at all. I'd say a ton of ill will.
Well, there's a lot of people that didn't like President Bush and didn't have to cart them in front of the Secret Service. So let's just let the people who are responsible for investigating take care of it.
You know what's interesting? The Romney camp, through Andrea Saul, the spokesperson, I think it was by Twitter, maybe email, sent out a statement, and they said this: divisive language is offensive no matter what side of the political aisle it comes from. Mitt Romney believes everyone needs to be civil, but the former governor himself didn't weigh in, and sort of saying everybody needs to be civil is not exactly putting yourself out there on a limb in any way. Do you think he went far enough in condemning whatever it was Ted Nugent was trying to say?
Well, that's not for me to decide, and I think that the more important things for me to be focused on is our economic security, our energy security, and our national security, not what Ted Nugent said and not the response of Governor Mitt Romney to what Ted Nugent said. So I just want to stay focused on the critical issues that are affecting the United States of America right now.
Okay, let's talk about what you said. I think it was last week, Jensen Beach. You were talking about members of the Communist Party. I'm going to play a little clip about what you said.
There's about 78 to 81 members of the Democratic Party that are members of the Communist Party.
You said, I believe there are 78 to 81 members of the Democratic Party that are members of the Communist Party. You mean like card-carrying members of the Communist Party?
Well, unfortunately, Soledad, you didn't play the entire thing, and I talked about the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And we've been back and forth about this, and I've had to give quite a few people a little tutorial about the political spectrum of ideologies, and there's a thin separation. And at the turn of the century here in the United States of America, American communists renamed themselves progressive, but the strategy and the tactics and the ideology still remains the same. And when you're a member of a caucus that actually wanted to have a constitutional amendment to redistribute wealth in the United States of America, I don't think that's in keeping with the principles and values of this country.
So name names for me.
Balanced budget amendment.
Start naming of the 78 to 81. No, we do. I'm dying to know. Which are the members of Congress that are
caucus? You can go
progressive. I've got them right here.
Progressive Caucus.
Progressive Caucus members. So Keith Ellison is a communist.
And Soledad. You know something?
Raul Grijalva is a communist.
Well, look, I'm just talking about the fact of the ideologies, the principles that you believe in.
A communist.
You can call it whatever you want. You can call it.
No, but I want to know what you're
calling it. I'm talking about their beliefs. I'm calling it this: communist, progressive, Marxist, socialist, statist, which is another term that's been used. I'm looking at the ideologies. I'm looking at the things that they believe in. And if you don't think that we have to stand upon truth and be able to identify and clearly contrast the different principles and values and ideologies and principles of governance here in this country, then we're never going to get to the fact of accepting the true debate that's happening in America. We don't need a bureaucratic nanny state. We need to stay a constitutional republic. And I think that a lot of people need to study that and understand what it is.
So there's a guy whose name is Librero de la Piana, and he is the vice chairman of the National Communist Party. So here's a guy, he knows communists, and he says this: I just think it's an absurd way, he's talking about you, an absurd way to cast a shadow over his colleagues. It's kind of a sad ploy. It's just guilt by association taken to an extreme. He says you're wrong.
Well, I don't care what he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if your colleagues like being called communist. Nice to see you, Congressman West. Appreciate having you on.